Thank you for joining us. It is a fantastic day today, isn't it, Tim?
It's a great day. Yeah, it's a little warm where I'm at. I don't know about you in Reno there, but
Yeah, it's very hot here. It's hot and dry here in the desert, turns out.
yeah. So we have a special guest with us today, Alex, and we're going to get to him in just a second. But we have a couple housekeeping items we want to address. Number one, Alex, I just want to report that we've had tremendous success with the webinar Sales Success Series. So keep attending. It's been great. Don't forget, we're posting this on our YouTube channel, the Sales Success YouTube channel with Figure. Always, always, always a great resource. And then I also, Alex, want to give you some kudos because I was on the road at the last webinar and you did it solely, man. So great job. Couple of housekeeping items. Typical, we want to make sure that in this webinar series that we always leave room for Q&A. So you can certainly put the questions in the chat. We will be getting to them at the end and then open it up to answer as many questions as humanly possible. So you have anything else to add, Alex?
I have exciting news, Tim, and this is something that I've been really looking forward to share today. I want you all to know that as of right now, we allow duplexes with our HELOC. So this is something where we have, of course, updated our documentation, but this is something to really reach out for your clients. So this is something where we'll probably talk more about this later, but just know we are making this product better and better as we go along. And I'll probably talk more and more about this as we go through. But I, again, want to save time. We do have Anthony Stratus here for all sorts of wonderful things. If you have any questions at all, please put them in the chat. Please put any questions about the product, any questions for Anthony in there. And just like Tim said, we'll do a Q&A later on. Without further ado, let's introduce the man of the hour.
Yeah, no doubt. And this is awesome. We've kind of gone through the phases of different product enhancements and how to use the tool and that type of thing. And now we're shifting into a phase where we want to report kind of what's going on, what's upcoming, what's historical look at things. So we have invited the one and only Mr. Anthony Stratus, our Vice President of Lending Partnerships. So Anthony, thank you for jumping on here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. This should be fun.
It is fun. And to in full disclosure, Anthony and I have a history together, a good history, I might add. And I thank Anthony for bringing me on board here with Figure. It's been a whirlwind, but man, we're headed the right direction. So Anthony, what can you share with us? Like you were recently on a panel, and I'm going to get the conference wrong, but there's a lot of talk about HELOCs. In fact, when I jump on any of the social media platforms, like that's the HELOC, HELOC, HELOC. Are you seeing and feeling the same thing?
Yeah, I think HELOCs are definitely a hotspot of the market right now, right? Just from about every perspective that I look at it, you know, I imagine on these sessions, you've talked about the customer side of it, which is the most important, candidly, all the time, right? You have a whole bunch of consumers that have super low first liens that they can't get out of, and life moves on, right? Maybe they want to improve their home, maybe they want to consolidate debt, maybe they this, maybe they that. And, you know, a really fun, easy way of actually accomplishing those things is to really tap your equity. Houses have appreciated. It's easy to do, and there's a lot of providers, Figure being my favorite, obviously. Self-serving, I'll pat ourselves on the back. Right. But, you know, it's a pretty hot market, and it's easy to tap that equity. And we are open for business and trying to get as many partners as possible to look at it. But the customer demand is there. So that's aspect number one. Number two, for originators, I think it's no secret, right? Like, you know, refi is struggling right now, definitely for the same reasons that I just outlined. And, you know, the purchase market is still subdued with interest rates being what they are and the affordability issues. And so we find that a lot of LOs are actually leaning in on this to help them drum up some interest, have some meaningful conversations, help out existing customers, but also even potentially acquire new ones through sound advice and solutions, which is really the name of the game. And the part that, you know, perhaps Tim, you don't see as often, but the investor appetite is also astonishing right now. You know, there's a lot of private capital lining up to look at second liens, and what that means in practice for the audience of this call is that there's decent economics for us to be able to share with the partners in a robust private capital market for it, and that is all positive. And, you know, the latest development there is, I mean, even Freddie's come into the picture now where, you know, second liens are something that they're going to dabble in. And it's a pretty small program, but at a minimum, we can all agree that having one of the agencies come in and play in the space means that this market's here to stay. It's not going anywhere for
Yeah,
a while.
I agree. And Anthony, you've just said so much that I want to unpack there real quick. So first and foremost, you talked about the popularity of HELOC, but it wasn't always that way, right? In other words, for me, to my core as a loan originator over the last 25 plus years, we would always say, well, just call your bank or call your credit union. It wasn't worth the full 45-day, 60-day underwrite, appraisal, escrow, yada, 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 that we've all been used to over the years. However, that's changed. And in fact, Figure has largely been responsible for that change, meaning it's now very simple for loan originators to at least find out what, if any, offers are had. But when you first came on to Figure, Anthony, we weren't in all of the channels, right? So talk a little bit about the growth that has now come full circle for us, right? Because we've got tons of partners. We're adding more partners, as you know, that's what your team does. So talk a little bit about that growth over the last 2-3 years even.
Yeah, so it's a great question, actually. You're right that that was the perception of HELOC, right? Not just for an LO that's like, my God, this is going to be a lot of work, for an $80,000-$100,000 loan, it's not worth it. But also from the perspective of what the purpose was, right? I think, HELOCs have this perspective of being a rainy day fund. And, if a loan's not drawn, then by definition, there's nothing there to be able to compensate. And, while there's utility to that, I think what Figure really succeeded in doing is turning it on its head and saying, look, there is a purpose to HELOCs. We're going to have a purpose-driven product where we are helping consumers be able to execute on something that's important to them, whatever that might be. It could be improving their home. It could be paying down debt. It could be anything that's a big ticket item that requires cash that you need to get somewhere. And, the evolution for what Figure accomplished is to make the experience feel more like a personal loan. I mean, when you have an application that takes 5-10 minutes and you end up in the same place as being able to take a secured loan at lower interest rates, where typically that's what the unsecured space feels like, or applying for a credit card even, that's a true accomplishment, right? And so, I've only been at Figure about a year and a half, but even before my time, it was apparent that the consumer demand was there. We knew that much because Figure also does market direct to consumer to help improve the platform and see what it looks like, right? So there's always an element of improving our product. But the point of the story there is that we knew the consumer demand was there, and the pivot that we had to make was to convince, first and foremost, the mortgage companies out there at large that it's worth paying attention to HELOC. And that was its own hurdle, right? Convince them that, hey, we can originate these loans at low cost through the automation that we have. We can do it at low effort, which means that, an average originator out there, an average LO, actually should be paying attention, because while they won't get paid as much on these loans, they can do it in 5 minutes time with some advice, of course. And, the good originators obviously do a little more work than 5 minutes. But in any case, their time would be invested in providing advice as opposed to paperwork and meeting conditions and all that type of stuff, which we've eliminated. And so we needed to convince partners that this wasn't too good to be true. It's real. There is money in it. We provide the takeout. It's worth the time, and package that all up in a way that, people companies started engaging with us. And we got past that point, and now we've got critical mass and onboarding partners. And so where we are, I think, right now in the evolution is, this is where you guys come in. There's a lot of LOs that have access to it. Pay attention. Do this.
Right.
It's worth your time.
Yeah, it's interesting. You said a couple of things there, and Alex, you can share. But Alex just completed a training with one of our newer onboarding partners just prior to this webinar. And Alex, you shared with me that group said the exact same thing that Anthony just did. This is too good to be true, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. And that's what continues to happen as we onboard these new partners and they look at this and go, that's too good to be true. And then we get a lot of questions because they overcomplicate it almost, because they can't simply believe how simple it is. So it's almost kind of phenomenal to see that evolution of someone learning the product and then really just kind of hitting it from the ground running.
Yeah. Now, Anthony, you also mentioned earlier from the investor standpoint and the appetite for this, but I want to dive into that a little bit, because I don't know that that's always been the case. And sometimes, if I'm being honest, as originators, we may run an inquiry and we may not get offers. Um, and you've heard me, Anthony, recently say that's actually okay. And the reason it's okay is because it only took you a couple minutes to find out yes or no in the offers. But truthfully, with our guidelines and the way the system is designed, isn't that really what's adding to the strength of the secondary for us? In other words, giving the investors the appetite. In other words, all of our loans look and feel the same, right? We're
I
not
mean,
packed with,
they are the same,
yeah.
actually, right? So part of the beauty in what we've built is a fully automated underwriting product. And I'm going to address the beauty because I do understand that sometimes it could be frustrating, and you sort of touched on it. But from an investor standpoint, knowing that whether a loan is originated by Rowan Mortgage Company or Nichols Mortgage Company or Stratis Mortgage Company, there's no favoritism, there's no subjectivity. Everything that we do is automated, follows the guidelines to a T, follows the exact same process, and that results in an asset in a loan that looks identical to any other loan. And that uniformity, number one, builds upon investor appetite. It gives them confidence that, well, I've seen, 5 years worth of a track record on these loans are going to continue performing the same. Nothing's changed. But more importantly, the standardization means that there's economies of scale to doing this, and we share those economics with our partners and therefore with the LOs. And that's the most important part. Now, with that, we recognize that it's a trade-off, and you touched upon it, Tim, right? While our credit box is similar to what the standards in the market are, in any automated process, you're always going to have something less than 100% of being able to qualify a consumer that in reality meets the guidelines through an automated process to get there. And we're doing everything we can to get to 100%. But in the meantime, what we tell our partners is at least we'll give you the answer within 2-3 minutes, right? We're not going to drag out this process for 45 days where you have to involve a lot of time, set an expectation for the customer that this is coming, and then have it fall apart in a way that's damaging. Instead, we sort of try to be upfront about what we can and can't do. The fact that we're improving it, and that, if this doesn't work, okay, here's your answer in 3 minutes. Let's talk about other alternatives. And there's always alternatives, as any good loan officer would know, right, Tim?
No question about it. And of course, you know how I feel. I've really embraced the tech aspect of what we do, the power of the lead portal and the inquiry tool. I think for loan originators, it's invaluable because it takes very little time away from my day. In fact, I'll just share with you, I just finished a call with a loan originator who had put some time on my calendar. She'd never used our platform before, and she already has 2 files this morning with offers that are moving forward. And her response was, oh my gosh, I got to start calling my clients. There's a lot of people that, and that's the magic. That's it right there. We've solved for the pain of the LO, if you will. And so it's pretty exciting and to see where we're headed. And so, Anthony, any talk or thought from your perspective as to future product offerings, enhancements, anything like that? We know the tech is working. So, and I know it's probably not going to happen tomorrow, but what's on the radar for looking off into the future?
Yeah, so I'd say there's sort of 2 buckets that I'd address, right? The first is, great, we have a HELOC product that has had some success in the market and that continues to grow. We are consistently going to look at improving that. We sort of touched upon the fact that we have an automated underwrite. We are laser focused on improving that incrementally. If you can improve your conversion by 1% every week and keep making tweaks that help more borrowers who do qualify actually get through the system, that is a wonderful thing. And we're going to keep doing that. At the same time, there's also, it's a new way of doing things, right? We are a fintech at heart, and we are a digital first platform that tries to deliver a delightful experience. You would be amazed at how moving one field from the top left of the screen to the bottom right, or how changing the sequence by which you capture information for clients, some of those changes can move conversion by 2-3%. And so we are going to continue investing time in being able to do that, as well as addressing capabilities that we don't currently have. An example being perhaps the properties in an LLC, which isn't something that, today we do, and tomorrow we would like to. we listen, we encourage you through Tim and other means to keep giving us this information, because we want to do everything we can to not leave a single borrower behind with our core product. So that's the first thing that we're doing. Now, the evolution of Figure and where we're going for this audience, I'd say that of course we're going to look to have adjacent products to what we have today. So we have a HELOC, it's standalone in nature. Perhaps we could look at a piggyback. How different is it from what we really do today, other than, you know, needing to close at the same time as the purchase mortgage on that, right? So there's going to be adjacent capabilities that are still a HELOC, or in any case a second lien, and finding ways to apply our product to that. And then over time, of course, we're also looking at what other products are or operate in a similar way, where we can come up with efficiencies by using an AVM, or thinking about the title process or income verification, to develop and help our partners offer those as well through our platform. I'd say those are kind of the main things on the core platform.
Yeah.
But the final thing I'd say, one last thing, which doesn't impact this audience as much, but you know, a key consideration for most of our partners that we deal with, LOs might not see it, but it's also the takeout, right? How does the company actually manage to take a loan and make money on it in order to then do it profitably and pay folks? And recently we had a press release and announcement that we launched Figure Connect, which, without getting into too many details, means that we are going to help many of our partners face off directly with the investors that we have, in order to be able to sell loans on a forward flow basis to them. And that creates a whole other world of opportunity as far as the economics and your companies being able to do these profitably with nice margins and in a healthy way.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and all three of us on this call, we know this to be true. There's a lot of moving parts right now, and all of it, I'm happy to report, in the name of improving. And we're making little tweaks. And Anthony, you broke up, you broke it into two sections, which I appreciate. You really talked about the platform and how just making some interesting little tweaks to that to fit more into that LO's world, if you will, which we're doing. In fact, I'm really excited about some of the enhancements coming in the future, so I'll keep it on the down low until we're ready with it. But then you broke it up from a product perspective. And so do you have a feel, Anthony? You're at a lot of conferences. You've been on some panels in recent weeks. What's the take on market conditions? What's the industry saying from your perspective as to where we think market goes in regards to how it affects HELOCs?
You know, I'll address that in a second. I actually realized as I was going through this, and your question about where we're taking the platform, the one thing I didn't address, which is maybe the most important for this, we are working very hard at taking all the enhancements that we made about conversion and underwriting and making our engine more transparent to LOs, so that you could be a part of the process rather than have you sort of put something in and just get an answer back. So, and just the existence of Tim and Alex demonstrates the fact that we are looking to engage with you on a much more personal level.
Well, one, I agree 100% with that. And I think we've shifted to an environment where we at Figure have identified that our partners and our LO partners are in fact our first customer. And that's how we get the end customer, right? That's how we're helping other people with their financial needs. And so I think it's a huge shift for us at Figure. I think we've done it very, very well. And so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. As far as kind of, I think your question was, I was thinking about my answers. You were asking the question, but I think it was kind of, what am I hearing at conferences and, you know, getting out there.
Market conditions, you know, let's face it. One of the things, good news, bad news, we all have social media. We all have LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And, you know, for the last couple of years, I mean, we don't see it so much anymore, but it was interest rates are going down. Interest rates are going down. Well, by the way, that hasn't happened, you know, in the Fannie Freddie world. And so I don't know, what are you and some of the folks you're spending time with, what are they thinking happens from a market conditions perspective?
It's a great question. So I say this often when I'm asked this question, right? So if I knew what interest rates were going to do, I'd be a billionaire and probably not here on this call. I'd be on, you know, CNBC or whatnot talking about it. But you get really varied opinions, right? Some believe that, we're probably at a high as far as interest rates go, and they should tick down from here as inflation tames. Others take a more bearish view and think that there's, perhaps more upside and more things that the Fed's going to need to do, and the interest rates are going to be elevated for a while before they tick down. You know, and inevitably, every time I have one of these conversations, where we land is that as an industry, we need to change and think about how we can operate in a healthy, profitable way in all market conditions. Because the odds of us being at 2 or 3% interest rates in the foreseeable future are pretty low. And so the name of the game is how do you tackle the purchase market, and how do you provide better advice in order to be able to close loans and better solutions to help customers in today's market. Importantly, as it applies to HELOC, again, I don't know where rates are going to go, but I will say this: we are in a range right now where interest rates could go up or down by literally 200 points in either direction, and I'm not sure it would make a very material change to the game that's out there. If it goes down, yes, it'll hurt with purchase activity, but you're still pretty far from a refi market. If it goes up too much, affordability is going to become even tougher, and it'll impact the ability of consumers to borrow money in general. Nevertheless, the solutions that we're offering today are pretty similar to,
Yeah, I
to
love
what's
it,
out there.
and I love your take on it. And by the way, I love the comment you made, Anthony, that we can't control market conditions, right? And so the lending industry as a whole needs to adjust to deal with market conditions, whatever they might be. And wouldn't it be great? I wish you could change market conditions, Anthony. You're right. You'd be a billionaire, and then you and I could go off and do something. But what I want to share with everybody is even if rates were to come down, what we perceive as significantly, here's something that I think is interesting. A lot of times as loan originators, we forget that the number one need right now is we're right at home improvement and debt consolidation. I'm sure you've all seen the news. Debt has run off the charts in our country. I mean, it's just an astronomical number, and people need our help. Anthony used the word advice. I'll use the word advice and strategy. And that's where this product comes in as an option. Is it their only option? Of course not. But what's interesting is even if the Fannie Freddie rates were to come down, again, what we would perceive as significantly, when we add the cash out to the equation, the loan level price adjustments are so significant that the rate comes right back up. And so I've run some scenarios and samples where if I said someone had a $400,000 loan and they needed $100,000 to do home improvement, well, that new loan cash out would be 7.5, 7.75% because the LLPAs. Well, versus doing a HELOC, adding it to their 3% mortgage, their effective rate was 6 1/8, way below market conditions for rates. You see what I mean? So I want to encourage everybody to think to exactly how Anthony said that a minute ago, from an advice perspective, given today's market. Man, I wish we could forecast what's going to happen in 6 months from now, but maybe I'll
I
get
mean,
that power someday.
look, here's a prediction that I'll make that's going to be pretty obvious and not earth-shattering at all. People's lives will continue to change as time passes. Families' needs will change. Babies come, people change jobs, they need to add a pool. Like, my point is, there's going to be consistent demand and wants and needs that consumers have. And we need to provide them options in order to accomplish them. And we think we've got a pretty good tool here to do it, which, I'm not sure if you'll ask the question later on, but that is the other piece of advice that I'd give LOs out there, right? Every good loan officer that I know has a strong referral network that helps them in the traditional purchase market, and they have ways of acquiring, refi leads and servicing their existing customers, right? I think in today's market, there's a lot of demand for home improvement, for pools, for this or that. In the communities that LOs operate, there's an infinite number of referral sources where you could help those types of individuals make money and do business. Find that local pool guy, tell them to come to you and actually, refer HELOCs to you, and they'll be thrilled to do it if you're enabling them to install a pool. Right.
Yeah,
So,
or kitchen remodels, or windows, or roofs.
anything.
Yeah, it's a great point, Anthony. It's and we're expanding in that area as well to try and add some additional marketing collateral and that type of thing. So, On that topic, for everybody that's on the call, make sure to always take note of our newsletter. We're always posting some great updates, enhancements, marketing collateral, or links to marketing collateral, I'll say. And so that is a great opportunity to think. I like to say, get outside of the box, right? Not just your past client database, but maybe within your client database, you have already contractors, pool folks, roof people, whatever, think of it that way. So anyway, I think it's a great opportunity, and we've got tons of exciting things happening. Alex, you mentioned we just launched a new enhancement yesterday, now allowing duplex property types, by the way, so we're pretty excited about that. We've got some new underwriting logic regarding tax return transcripts, which should give us a small lift a little bit as to what it's looking for income. So when these enhancements come out and they're announced in the newsletters, and we're working on even expanding the sales communication strategy, if you will, as that information comes out, be sure to pay attention to it, because we really are focused on improving everywhere that we can. And by the way, Anthony, you said it earlier, we're getting feedback from LOs and the sales teams and our current partners, and that's where we're listening. We're listening, and we're saying, okay, you spoke, we listened, let's go to work and see how we can improve this, or this,
That's the most important thing to me, is we are always listening to feedback. We're always improving this product based on that feedback. And so there's some very exciting things coming up. Not going to talk about them, but this product's going to continue to improve. So I also just put some links in the chat, both to a marketing toolkit with things like flyers, social media assets, and things you can use, and a link to the Success Center that does have a link to our newsletter. So if you haven't already, make sure that you sign up to that. That is always going to give you the latest and greatest to any improvements or any news on the HELOC.
Cool. And I'm not seeing any questions. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and put them in there. We don't always get to have Mr. Anthony in front of the audience, so it's great. If you guys have any questions directly for him, you can certainly type it in the chat there.
Yeah, and while we wait for some questions, I mean, I'm imagining most of the participants here, existing partners of ours or folks that have access, but, we really appreciate it, right? The other part that I hope comes across is, this is a relationship with you that's very important to figure. Our strategy is built upon partnerships with originators and loan officers to reach consumers at large. You're sort of core to what we're trying to do. And I think that's a little unique for a company like ours, in that we're not out there to, try to compete or build this out ourselves. That's not at all how this is going to work. We need you, and we are here to serve you. And everything we do is going to reflect that philosophy.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so much so that Alex has been added to the team. There's one other team member that's been added to the sales success team. So there will be 3 of us. Alex, as we follow up with the attendees, let's make sure we send them our new email, salessuccess@figure.com.
Absolutely. I'll put that in the chat as well.
The new gentleman is on paternity leave, and as I can see in the attendees, he is actually listening to us right now.
Is he?
He's on here right now.
Let's all congratulate him on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So congratulations, Mr. Reef. I didn't even see that he was on the call. He's supposed to be on leave, for crying out loud.
That's what I said. We'll have to report this to HR.
Just don't report I invited him. Yeah. So I'm not seeing any questions come in. Maybe we just did such a great job of covering all the topics. We've had quite a few attendees today. Thank you, Alex, for posting our new email. By the way, I want to be clear on this. And of course, this is all being recorded, and again, will be on our YouTube channel. But the salessuccess@figure.com email, tips, tricks, best practices, additional training needs, want to have discussions about strategies, how best to adopt the product, the tech. That's what you'll want to use that email for. There are other avenues when the client's logged in for customer support and so on and so forth. So that's the type of thing we want to help with, is really work with all of you at a street level, quite honestly, on how to best take advantage of this product. So anyway, let's see. No other questions. Well, Alex, what do you think? I think we just wrap it up and call it a day. And Anthony, thank you. Really, thank you. I know, I mean, I look at your calendar all the time and I go, there's not even time for a phone call in there. So
it's all good.
the fact that you made it here pleases me.
That's a
So,
good problem to have in today's market, right? It means good things are happening. So thank you.
yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Anthony. There was a question. Alex, can you make sure to take that one? And it's offline.
Absolutely.
By the way, I will answer the question this way, not specific to the loan officer, but every time we close a loan officer closes a loan. Let's pretend I closed a loan today. It is the comp is paid the following Wednesday night. Well, let's call it Thursday. So just check with your internal resources, but it happens like clockwork every single Wednesday night. So anyway, and if you do need any help diving into the reporting on that and us verifying when it was paid out, just let us know. So anyway, I think we're good. Oh, yes, we can do figure loans in Texas. Now all of a sudden the questions are coming in. Yes. In fact, Alex, how long have we been in Texas now? I'm losing track. Has it been about 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months, give or take. I've lost track of time of too. Things change so fast around here. We absolutely can do Figure Texas. Just keep in mind there are specific requirements. This is something that I've done specific trainings for, as well as their specific documents. The big thing for Texas is it's still that same quick and easy application. Though if you've done any lending in Texas before, you know they have a 12-day cooling off period before notary. So that will extend out the funding timeline, though there really isn't anything else they need to do. Typically, they just wait around. They're going to schedule their notary appointment, and then they have to wait the 12 days. There's a couple other requirements for Texas, but that is definitely something where we can go ahead, and I'm going to be sending an after email with information. I'm also going to be including links to documents, including Texas-specific documents, so you'll be able to see those in there. But yes, we are in Texas now, and in fact, we are in most states. We are also going to be going live in a couple states coming up here very shortly. So that little state list that we don't lend in is getting narrower and narrower to the point where it's almost gone. So just keep that in mind, but I'll be sending an after email with a bunch of nice information on this product so that you can go ahead and review that.
By the way,
Hey, might as well announce one now, right? I think
Oh
we
yeah,
just
if you want
launched
to, go right
yeah,
ahead.
Delaware.
we just launched Delaware, so I think one
Oh,
of
that
our
was last
presidential
night, yes.
candidates, our current president, has a home there, I believe. So tell you what, first hello that gets a HELOC for him, we'll do a $500 gift card as long as he announces it on the debate in a couple days here. How's that for a bar?
Well, as we know from past press releases, people using figure HELOCs have used them for all kinds of things, right? Including in the political arena, which is kind of funny.
That'd be kind of cool, right? That's one way to
Right.
like raise some money for the campaign. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So Alex, I love this comment. I hope you're seeing it. So I have 4 referrals. Can you send me more info and guidelines? Yes, yes, and yes.
Yes, absolutely.
We will get that to you, and we are here to help. And so again, pretty big announcement that Delaware just launched and in all of our channels now. So we're good there. We've already let a few of our partners know. And so, gosh, it's great. Keep the feedback coming. Make sure you're reaching out to the sales success team. Again, tips, tricks, strategies, additional training needs. Where Alex and I and team really want to, where we're taking this is we want to be involved in your regularly scheduled sales meetings when you have the need. So it doesn't have to be a full training, but just some quick interjections here and there, report some wins, some success stories. And by the way, there are a lot of them. And so we're anxious to share that with all of you guys. So please make sure I get your email. I'm in Texas and I have borrowers waiting for it.
I love that so much. Let's make sure we help those people. I'll make sure you get all the information on it.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you. Mostly Anthony, thank you very much for jumping on. I know I said it, you're a very busy guy, so we really appreciate it.
Aren't we all? No, you guys are great. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.